It is Friday, the 15th of September, 2017. This is the day of the memes. It's the day of the memes for good damn reason, though. And this is one of my favorites, in 22 hertz. It was retweeted by Bitcoin Art Gallery, who does a great job of curating this stuff. And it's all because of this, really. It's all because of this. We bounced, and it was a big bounce. Look at the 12-hour. Look at that rocket candle. And this actually is going to go down in history as one of Bitcoin's biggest moves in dollar terms. It's right up there with the 20th of July earlier this year. We rocketed up from 1800 from a few days prior. And I think it's all happening off the back of, well, 1 second. 1 second. I'm missing something. Let me just do this. Protocol first. Block height, 485,499. This is Block Digest. Thanks for tuning in. And I'm joined by my guest, Shinobi.
Hello.
Shinobi, what's the catchphrase of the day?
China.
No. Well, what's the title of today's show, dude?
Oh geez. China really did it this time.
There you go. Shinobi does funny voices. And we got Rick with us today.
Hey, that's right. They did it today, but Bitcoin bulls pushing back.
That's right. And Charlene.
Hello, everyone.
Yes. All right. So back to business. Why have we bounced so hard, Shinobi? Tell everyone this is a chart by one of our. You don't know her, but her name is Beauty Bubble, and she provides a lot of the spirit behind this show, and she also does charts. And this is one of her indicators that I often use myself, in fact, called the Ruby. And you can use it on TradingView. You can get the details from the screenshot here. I think she called the bottom right there. I mean, she posted this chart last night. She's not lying. And 3,000 proved to, for now at least, hold support. Why is that happening, Shinobi? Tell everyone. Educate the people.
Well, I think it's just if you scroll back, that's been a pretty big point of support and previously resistance. And so usually when you have in a move up something as a resistance to that, finally get broken through, it usually turns into a support. And so when you're looking at a chart, that the longer you see the candles kind of hold a support line, the more likely that is to act as a support on a down move in the future. And so I think just a combination of like finally hitting a decent support level and the clarity with all of the exchanges for the most part finally coming out and announcing they're winding down. I think it was just a combination of a nice technical level and more confidence with the narrative that's going on at the current time.
Yeah, and with OKCoin and Huobi being given that extra month to stay open, some were speculating that maybe that when the end of October comes around, they will actually just be allowed to trade, it will be extended, by another year or something. But I also think it's because there's a realization, as would happened earlier in the year when Bitfinex was having its banking problems, that people have to get off these exchanges somehow, right? And in order to do that, what are they going to do? Well, the easiest way to do it is, of course, just to buy crypto. And particularly a couple of people were mentioning, I think also Charlie Lee was mentioning that maybe you want to get your money off of there sooner rather than later. Don't put this off because they might be fractional. It might not be full reserve on these exchanges. So you want to get off now.
Yeah, it's actually something. So I don't know who out there knows Aztec BTC, but he's been speculating for a while, and I kind of agree with him that there's a decent possibility that an exchange in China was hacked and they just kept it quiet. And I mean, it's kind of suspicious how you've had all of these security troubles with all these exchanges outside of China and nothing really happening there, especially as it's kind of like a hacker's playground. I mean, half of the cell towers in China are just fake base stations for people to try and man in the middle people. And it's just kind of really shocking in that environment that there hasn't really been any hack or problems coming out of China.
Yeah, and we also saw ViaBTC as well, also shutting down. Sounds like they're shutting down for good, or at least on mainland China. That's what their statement says anyway. That together, they've been looking at the regulation, and they say as a responsible exchange platform, the decision has been made, a very serious decision To carry out in the spirits of the policy that we officially close the website ViaBTC.com for exchange business in mainland China on September 30th. So they do make the distinction of mainland China. They do tell people they need to withdraw their money, and they do thank their 100,000 global users. So I don't know whether that means they're going to be back or not, but I don't know what that means for the politics of this space and this community, because also ViaBTC are a mining pool as well. And an insight that you, Shinobi, brought up to me that I didn't first notice was in this CoinDesk article today about today's news, that the exchanges are going to have to save all user trading data and send it to local authorities immediately in DVD format. Obviously, the big story there is the DVD format, but if you could talk about the first part.
But yeah, this should be kind of worrying, especially with the BTCE crackdown and all the things they were involved in. And, you know, anybody who's now going to collect their money from there has to provide full KYC info. And now all these exchanges in China are shutting down and have to turn over all of their customer data. I mean, if I was to put my tinfoil hat on for a minute, this seems like a wider effort from a lot of different governments just trying to get identifying information on all of the Bitcoiners or crypto users they can to actually put a face and a name to things. And that's kind of unsettling.
Yeah, it feels like a bit of I just feel like the timing of this, we had Bixin, we had the BitMixer go down. We've had the dark markets all taken offline. We had BTCE taken down, all of their data taken as well, about all the user data going back quite some time. And now we've got these Chinese exchanges being taken down and all of their data being taken as well. And we've also in the background got this kind of ominous threat of this sort of North Korea propaganda that we're coming from the West, I think, where it's like booga booga, you know, this is the big enemy of the day, sort of Orwellian, you know, 1984 style, like this is the big enemy over there, it's this enemy over there. And they're really dangerous, and they might be using Bitcoin, and Bitcoin traders in some places might be funding, as we stated a couple of episodes ago, they might be funding Kim Jong-un's regime. So I don't know, I feel like this feels coordinated to me. I mean, the timing of all of this, I just feel like there's an effort going on to bring Bitcoin into the mainstream and clean it up and get rid of all these crazy libertarian people and all these criminal people that use it.
Yeah, and you know, it really makes sense. Like Bitcoin has the potential to just completely undermine national currencies, cut out middlemen in the form of these commercial banks that pretty much you have to go through to route money anywhere globally. And it's, you know, it sounds crazy when you say these things as they're happening, but when you really look back at history and big pivotal shifts in how things are done in economic reorganizations, it usually comes to light that there are kind of backroom dealing and coordinating going on. You just don't see it at the time because obviously it's being kept in the back room.
Indeed. Rick, any thoughts?
Yeah, you know, I was just actually going to push back just a little bit, saying that, you know, this regulation that's coming in, it might actually bring some people into the space that were afraid before. And I don't know, I understand that they are gathering up all our data, and I don't know, I just wonder what would they do with that? I mean, would they come hunt us all down? I mean, because like you're saying, they want to use this as a currency and they're trying to make it mainstream. I don't know what they would do with that information, other than just hold on to it and know that we have it.
Well, I mean, think about like the price projections going on right now. Like you have James Damone calling it a scam, but at the same time, I forget his name, but a former JP Morgan employee was just on CNBC projecting 25 grand, looking at mapping that to 5% of gold. I mean, imagine if we do really push up to $100,000 a coin, $500,000, $1 million a coin. There are people out there sitting on thousands of coins. I mean, Roger Ver alone has hundreds of thousands of coins. Think about the magnitude of that wealth as this ecosystem continues expanding. I mean, it might sound a little tinfoily, but do you really think governments around the world are just going to let people keep that money, be that capable of throwing their weight around as a peer to a nation state in an economic sense? I don't think they will. I think they're going to do everything they can to try to get that money away from people like that.
I think you're right. Like, if there was something like that, you know, where it's like a guy with enough, you know, money and treasure in his chest to where he could be a big problem later on, then yeah, I could see that for sure.
Yeah, all data is good data. And if you think about it, you know, with the rise of credit cards and debit cards and the contactless payment, I think there is definitely an effort to get rid of cash and to get rid of any kind of anonymity when it comes to money, because daddy knows best. And we want to outsource a lot of our decision making and a lot of our judgments to some higher power, some administrator, right? And we base it at the moment based on geography, like where you're born. You know, some battle was fought a long time ago, some lines were drawn on a bit of paper, and they decided that you were, you know, that you belong to this nation state. But humans have been around a lot longer than governments have, and I think that what Bitcoin has done, especially today with this huge bounce off of support, in spite of all the negative press that Bitcoin was getting and all these clampdowns and regulations, is that Bitcoin isn't going to budge that easily. You know, it's a global phenomenon. It doesn't situate itself inside of a state, but instead subjects itself to the rules of the world and the universe, really. It doesn't obey a nation state's laws in the same way that it does the laws of physics, for example. So yeah, a few more memes, I guess. I mean, we had this one from Bruce Fenton. Like this, actually, Bruce spent a lot of time today on the Bitcoin Mumble chat, and there's a link actually in the description below on how you can join us there in the chat room. It's a voice chat and text as well. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. He gave us a whole history of this story here. I kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah, Bruce has really been fucking knocking it out of the park on Twitter lately. Like, you know, I think a lot of people look at him as kind of naive and off base, but I really think he gets it a lot more than some people out there think.
Yeah, and one of our biggest fans, Jihan Wu, was tweeting out that Huobi and OKCoin got rough permission to delay the shutting down process because they're too big to shut down immediately. And he also points out that Bitcoin trading is still legal, as if you trade a commodity. However, order book exchanges will not be allowed to trade without a license. And then this prediction that I spoke about earlier is actually from Andreas Brecken, who we've quoted on here before. Love his work. And he says, I bet you that OKCoin and Huobi will be trading on November 1st with some kind of temporary license. So I guess we'll have to check back in with you, Andreas, when the time comes to see how you're getting on with that prediction. On to our next story, though. China, WeChat. Rick, is this your story? What do you want to tell us about? This seems a bit bizarre.
Yeah, you know, I ran across this story whenever I was just looking for Bitcoin news, and it was talking about how these regulations that are coming out of China, there was one that we sort of didn't really look at, is talking about the self-policing of online groups. And basically, whenever you're running a Telegram chat, or, well, these people were running WeChat groups, and if you don't police your group to what the state wants that group to be talking about, then you're going to be held liable for that. And it really puts out this chilling effect, and it's got Bitcoiners running to apps like Telegram that are more encrypted to where they could still talk about the problems going on right now with regulations and ICOs and how to deal with all this. And they feel they can't even talk about it in WeChat anymore. And so they've been moving that direction. And this all has to do with a 19th congressional what is it? It's a 19th Congress in China, and they're trying to clean up all the, I guess, just riffraff before it happens, to make sure that whatever legalized things they're trying to get done in that Congress, they can get it done. But it's definitely something where, you know, this is why we're in the crypto space, is we're trying to have immutable transactions, and this is censorship, and hopefully we can, you know, just keep pushing censorship resistance over there.
Yeah, that seems bizarre. They mention Telegram in that first article that we have linked in the description. You can follow us along. By the way, in the links to all these articles are in the description below. They mention Telegram, but the thing is, don't you need a phone number to set up a Telegram again? How do they get around that?
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to get some kind of phone.
Yeah, it seems like even though you do have the ability to talk in an end-to-end encrypted manner on Telegram, you do have to kind of set that up first. It's not default encrypted, I should mention, for those of you who think that you might be private when you're not. And also group chats are not encrypted on Telegram either. That's another thing to point out to people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a. Or I'm sorry, Rick. That's twice now. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, you know, I wanted to just say that these regulations are going into effect October 8th. So they're not in effect yet. This is just sort of like the initial sort of shock of it. And so anybody out there using WeChat and stuff, it's still not in effect yet.
Yeah. And we're not talking about forks today, but Paula Green had a good quote. She said, "We need bigger blocks like we need more altcoins." And I really like that. Is that true, Shinobi?
No, that's fallacious nonsense.
That's facetious and flippant. That's what it is.
You know, it looks kind of pessimistic now in China, but I think there's more hope than people give it credit for. Like, it's a quick anecdotal story from a friend of mine in China. The Chinese government spent hundreds of millions of dollars in a few cities setting up monitoring points to grab the MAC addresses from all the mobile devices walking by. And they didn't even spend the time to realize that most phones nowadays just have random MAC addresses they broadcast that are constantly cycling until it actually makes a connection. So they literally spent hundreds of millions of dollars to try to clamp down on people, and it does no good. So I mean, that's the thing with communist governments. Like, they're big bureaucratic machines, but they're usually incredibly uninformed and inefficient.
Yeah, indeed. If you have a link to that, would be great. We could put that in the description as well.
I'd love to, but it's kind of just through people from China.
Oh, he's in the know. He's in the know. Are we ready to move on to solar mining? I beg your pardon. Bitcoin in space, solving the issues with space-based solar power. Right. Who wants to take this story? Rick?
Yeah. This is a story that our friend Kyle Torpy put out in Forbes, and he was covering Peter Todd's discussion at the recent Breaking Bitcoin, where he put forward, you know, a real nothing solid. It's just a thought exercise about putting miners out in space with solar panels tied to them. And, you know, this is still, it's not fantasy, it's just hard sci-fi, and that's what I like about it, is it's not infeasible, and I like the story, and it's something that I really like Peter Todd's you know, mind, you know, going that far ahead. And it's one of the things I really like about the space, is these big ideas that are not implausible. It's just going to take time to get it done. And you know, it's also about renewable mining. You know, I mean, if we can send miners up there and get some, you know, that's the thing. It's like a cost for energy is an incentive to get out there and actually do the solar mining too. And so hopefully it'll further the research.
Yeah, absolutely. Shining, do you have anything?
Yeah, so in renewable mining, so there's also a new project that just got announced today called Harvest. It's by Julian Oliver, and Chris and I met Julian while we were in Berlin for the cryptocurrency workshop that we did for critical engineering, where one of the topics I covered was the implications of cryptocurrencies for the environment. If you want to see the slides for that, you can find it at my website. But Julian hadn't announced this project yet, though we, because it was still a secret at the time, but he was already building the small wind turbine in the studio where we were presenting at. And so we got in person. And today he's officially unveiled the project called Harvest, which uses wind energy to mine Zcash. And that the Zcash that gets mined will then be donated to fund climate research. And he hasn't selected who will receive that money yet, but he'll probably announce it within the next 2 months or so. And if you want to see it, there's an exhibition at an art museum in Sweden. If you're able to visit, you'll see a data visualization from the live feed that's attached to the miner, which shows you technical data points like the hash rate, the block number, the Zcash price. And you also get to see environmental data like the local wind speed and the temperature. So yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to that because he announced it today and it's been a secret for a while. So yeah.
It's a really cool project. I really like it. I mean, Zcash, what? But I guess, I mean, it made sense when we were talking to him because he needed something that was sort of friendly enough for him to set up on a Linux box, and not all altcoins are that great. And he obviously can't use Bitcoin for this. You need something with a much lower on-ramp. And yeah, I was really impressed with the turbine and everything. I do wonder though, like how much energy this is using up. Probably all of the good that it's doing out there is probably being used up in this presentation, but it's all for a good cause, I guess. He's trying to raise awareness for something. And obviously the first project is going to have somewhat of a debt attached to it, you know, whereby it's probably going to cost more energy to produce this project than it will pay back. But in the longer term, if people take inspiration from this and try to take this idea and build on it, then it will have fulfilled its purpose. Anyone else want to come on this?
I mean, it's kind of interesting because, you know, you see all these ICOs and projects out there trying to draw in money for more private companies or, sorry, brain farting, more business purposes. It's kind of nice to see people setting up projects just to actually get research done or something with a more nonprofit oriented goal.
Indeed.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you know, it's good to see this sort of thing, anything that can help renewable energy keep moving forward. And if it's Bitcoin and our cryptocurrency mining that can help push that forward, let's do it.
Yeah, indeed. Right, we're racing through it today. We got our last shout out of the day, actually. Shanine, do you want to do this? Let's get the screen share up.
Yeah, so I was originally going to do the shout out last night, but we didn't get to it. I wanted to give a shout out to Barrett Brown's Pursuance project, which I got invited to about a month or two ago. And it's in simple terms, we're still trying to figure out, or at least I'm still trying to figure out exactly what it is. But in simple terms, Pursuance is project management software for the activist community. Actually very similar almost to what Chris and I are working on with Vettage, but it's for more than just journalists, which is what Vettage is catering towards. Barrett Brown did a live AMA last night, and from what I gathered, the main focus of Pursuance will be whistleblowing on topics like prison reform and the drug war, but of course they're inviting a more diverse crowd to participate in the alpha launch, which should be happening within the next year or so, I think. Also, you should know that the U.S. Justice Department recently sent him a letter saying that his income will be garnished to pay for Stratfor, which is the, I don't know, does anyone want to give a description of what Stratfor is? Because I'd probably not have a very good description of what they are. But if you want to show him support in this difficult time, please check out Pursuance if you're interested.
Yeah, Stratfor is pretty much just like a private intelligence firm that analyzes intelligence data. They usually do contracting with the U.S. government historically, but it's pretty much just like part of the larger trend over maybe the past 10 or 20 years of privatizing large aspects of the intelligence or military operations.
Yeah, and what is this? Jeffrey Tucker is talking about Jamie Dimon.
That title looks a little clickbaity to me, Chris.
Well, I wanted to quote it a few days ago when Jamie Dimon was one of the main focus topics of the episode. But I thought Jeffrey Tucker had a really good quote about it in here where he says, guys like Diamond believe they own the system. They are the great intermediaries, the masters of the monetary universe. No one gets in the system or out of the system without their knowledge and permission. So it has Bitcoin changes all that. Download a wallet, find a friend, and you are the owner of a currency that can buy anything, anywhere in the world, or from anywhere in the world. It's more than that. An individual can raise capital without intermediaries, without JP Morgan. Let's just say that Mr. Diamond has a slight conflict of interest here. He is right to fear for the obsolescence of his job.
Sounds like a good damn quote. Jeffrey Tucker. Saw him at PortFest a few years ago. He's a really good guy. Gave a really good speech. I like his propaganda. I like it a lot. Right, that's it. It's Fun Day Friday. What else you got for me? Did everyone bring games in to play on the last day of term?
Sorry, your eloquent British euphemisms are a bit over my head.
It might be a cultural reference as well. I don't know if in America you ever like brought games in on the last day of term, if that was a thing.
Maybe very early in like grade school and such.
Yeah. All right. Rick, you unmuted yourself. What do you want to say?
Oh man, I was just gonna say, yeah, we played a lot of games in school, but I think it wasn't like the end. It was just like all the time. That's the way it went where I was.
Well, how come I didn't go to school like that? What the heck?
Don't worry about it. It wasn't the greatest, trust me. But you know, don't worry, you didn't miss anything. Have a great weekend, folks.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the chat room. Straight Trollbox. Almost called it the Trollbox. Kind of, yeah. I think it's an affectionate name. And people have said some really good stuff, but I haven't been keeping a note of it. Sorry about that.
I'll buy Tether.
Oh yeah, buy Tether. Yeah, buy Tether. Buy it up loud. I don't work for Tether, by the way. For people that ask me about it. And renewable energy is a scam, says James Bond. I don't think that's quite right, but I get what you mean. I mean, an awful lot of renewable energy sources like the wind and the solar don't end up paying back the thermodynamic cost of production, right? Like it costs more energy and it's more disruptive longer term. But yeah, so yeah, no uniform day. That's right. And why you haven't got a Bitcoin t-shirt? I mean, I've got lots of Bitcoin t-shirts. I could have worn one, I guess. It's getting cold now in the UK right now. It's October here. Chilly day. Had to wear long sleeves for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, real quick though, James. I mean, yeah, if you want to boil things down mathematically, renewable things like solar and wind aren't going to save the world on their own, but it's definitely going to make a dent. And there are most definitely niche places where it makes more sense than laying out conventional infrastructure for things like nuclear or gas power.
Well, one of the things that Andreas said recently, because obviously with the 7 nanometer transistors, that means that the shelf life of a lot of mining equipment will be a lot longer. And so it'll be easier to ship that out of China. In fact, the concentration of mining there, especially if now they're going to be, shutting off the exchanges and everything. And Andreas had a good comment that, this is our opportunity to re-decentralize mining because, what kind of opportunities are opened when you can have little miners attached to everyone's houses, or he even said that, you could incorporate it into the cycle of demand for like every single household where, an ordinary house is not using the same amount of power every day. And so you could attach a miner to it and say, okay, when the power usage in the house isn't as high when you're not using it for things like cooking or light, then instead it can go to Bitcoin mining. So I thought that was interesting.
How feasible is that? I always thought that people should be using Bitcoin miners, like using the heat to heat up other things, heating up water, heating up space, your space heaters, like in your houses. And I know that Aknix has got this RV project and he wants to get a Bitcoin miner so he can heat that up, but he just wants like a small one, so it doesn't take up too much space. Because, even if it isn't profitable, well, at least you end up with Bitcoin instead of just wasting the electricity completely.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think really the only thing slowing that down is just waiting till we get to a low enough chip size that they have a longer shelf life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but won't the difficulty just go up higher as more and more people use them, and then it will just go back to a zero sum again? It's still, you've still got to play a time game at the moment to get in at the right time, get out at the right time.
Yeah, but the time horizons would extend a little longer, and as long as it's a renewable source or energy that you'd be producing anyway, I mean, it's at least you're getting something back.
Yeah, indeed. And thank you to Russell for pointing out that it is not, in fact, October yet. It's still September. I'm clearly living in the future. So yeah, I like that I took us all forward. Stole all your time away from you. So speaking of time, guys, thank you very much for your time. And I really appreciate everyone's support on the show. We're now like episode 24. Yeah, 24. And it's been really good fun. And I hope you continue to support us. Have a great weekend. We only do weekdays at the moment, but if you want to come and join us, Bitcoin Mumble chat room link is in the description below. If you enjoyed the show, you can hit the like button and subscribe. But remember, only if you want to. Bye for now.